Today on the show, we've got Karen Hackman. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
So excited to have you. So Karen is a finance coach and she helps couples talk about money without arguing, but I also know she's lots more than that. So tell me, Karen, how do you do that? What is the work that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Beck. So yes, I am a finance coach and I help from personal experience. I know that not every couple is able to talk about money easily. So I help couples, they come to me and they just want to get on the same financial page. And that's what I do. I have like a 5-week coaching program and I talk them through what we do. And yeah, we just get them on the same financial page. We talk about where they've come from, where they want to get to and how they're going to get there. And I truly believe that every couple, you both come from two different households, two different homes where things are perhaps different, and that's not right and that's not wrong. And when you come together, you have to merge your finances and get on the same financial page. So talking about money, for some people, they feel very overwhelmed and very reluctant. And I have a husband who was very overwhelmed and reluctant to talk about money. And so we eventually got on the same financial page. So it's all 100% experience, and I give 100% tips on how my husband and I got on the same financial page.
I love this. When Karen and I spoke the other day, I was like, this is so important because a little bit like sex, money's not talked about, particularly in dating. And we were just like, it's so important. It's so important to talk about this stuff, while you're still dating and while you're getting into like early on in the relationship. From your experience, Karen, what have you noticed because I know you said like, learn from you and all of your past history and mistakes, how can that benefit people talking about this early on?
Oh, so much, Beck. If I know what I know now, if we knew, it was so different. My husband and I got on the same financial page after 18 years of marriage. And I'm like, what a waste of time. We could have been doing so much more with our finances. We could have been retired by now.
Yeah.
So when you're open and honest with one another, it's a complete game changer because you're not hiding anything. You have joint money goals and you're crushing them as a team. And I think it strengthens your marriage. So if you go into the relationship talking about money and having that accountability to each other, it's just a complete game changer because, I firmly believe that your spouse is your best friend and there should be no secrets and you should be working as a team in life. So money is life, right? Because that's what makes the world go round. So, let's get on the same financial page. Let's do things together as a team. Let's dream big, and live your best life.
Yeah. So because I know for people, it is an awkward topic to talk about, like how do you start those conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of my key phrases is, when you're first going out with somebody and you're getting to know them, is, you obviously you just can't say it straight out, right? You have to be like, the conversation has to be going in that direction. How much you save, how much you manage to save or invest each month. Or, if you're thinking about going away for the weekend and maybe your partner would like to go to this gorgeous 5-star hotel for the weekend and it's completely above your budget and you're anxious and you're worried and you're going to have to put it on a credit card, don't be afraid to say, I'd really love to go here. However, this month I can't afford it this month. Be completely open and honest. But, maybe we could go in 6 weeks' time when I've managed just to save the money or however long that will be. And I think if you shy away from that, it's not going to help. I think you need to just be honest and hopefully they will understand. And I think that's just a great way in to talk about, you are aware of your finances. You do know how much money is in your bank account. You do know how much you have to spend. But don't go putting on a credit card and hide that and make the other person think, that you're really wealthy. And, this could be a monthly thing and you're going, I can't afford this. And maybe they're in the same situation. They're trying to impress you and, they're putting all on a credit card too. So just be open and honest and talk about that budget word, or some people call it a spending plan, or just say, I don't have that money right now. Can we do something else? So is there an alternative?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. And I'm just thinking if you started to date someone and say, I don't know, you've been going out for a little bit of time and you then become aware that they have debt, Like how does that conversation go? You know, how like if one person's in debt and the other one's not.
Yeah. And, you know, normally in relationships, you might find it back that one person's a saver and one person's a spender. It's not 100% true all the time, but the majority of the time it is. And so don't be judgmental, show grace, because a lot of people in the world are in debt and they are ashamed about it, where it is actually quite normal for people to be in debt right now in the US and the UK. And I'm presuming Australia as well, that the credit card debt is higher than it's been in years.
Wow.
And there is real consumer pressure just to put everything on a credit card because, you know, you're worth it and you need that new phone and you need that new car and you need that holiday, where actually you don't. So if one person's in debt, show grace, show understanding, don't be judgmental, and just say, okay, you've got some debt, you know, tell me more about that. Ask some open-ended questions. You know, it might be just $2,000. It could be 20,000. It could be 200,000. You know, you don't know. So just be calm and don't let your body language go, oh, how much debt are you in? That might not go down so well. Yeah. You know, but my top tip would be just don't pay off the debt for them. I've heard some real horror stories where people have paid thousands of pounds, dollars off their partner's credit card bills and then they disappear. And so I would only encourage that when you are married. But just just show some grace. You know, what's your plan to get out of debt? You know, do you have a plan? How's that working out for you?
Yeah, cool. And what I suppose that kind of conversation will open up understanding their values around money, I would assume.
Yeah. I've got these great 3 questions. Well,
yeah. Tell me.
No, so to find out people's values around money, I ask, so if you had $5,000 in your bank account tomorrow, and it's not a mistake, someone's just gifted you $5,000, what would you do with it? And they might say, clear debt, you know, pay off my mortgage. And then a couple of days later, there's another $5,000 in your bank account. And you ask this 3 times. So $15,000 has been put in your bank account, but only in, you know, $5,000 at a time, and that will really tell you about their values. You know, I'm going to go on a major holiday, or I'm going to go pay off the car, pay off the mortgage, pay it towards the mortgage, things like that. That will show you their values. I think it's a fun question too.
Yeah, it is fun. It is. Yeah, totally. But what do you do if, like, I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but if values don't align with their money, what happens?
Yeah, good question. Normally they do. So, but I don't know what happens if they don't align with their values. I think hopefully they will. I'm sorry, Beck, you really stumped me on that one.
Well, it's quite interesting because, like, so often in early dating, like, one of my first questions whenever I work with any client is like, what are your values? And I would say, like, 90% of clients go, what's a value? Or like, I don't know my values. Or, you know, so it's important for me to get them on the same page of like what their values are. So when they're dating, that the values align with the person. But, you know, I suppose maybe what I find with when I've worked with couples is that, and maybe it's not their values, but what they think is important to spend on is different, which could be values. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, do they get values mixed up with morals?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, what if they want to spend on different things?
Yeah, that's okay. As long as you're like, so they come together as a couple.
Yep.
Yeah. So my husband is a huge gadget freak. And at the beginning, that caused a bit of tension. But then I learned that it's okay. He can have some fun money and I have some fun money. And, you know, as couples, it's good to have hobbies and interests that maybe you don't do together, because you just come back at the end of the day and do what you want to do together. But that's okay as long as he's not buying a new phone for however many hundreds of dollars they are at the moment. That's okay. So, you know, he knows that we've got like a category line for fun in the budget, and that's okay. And if he wants a phone, we're going to have to talk about it, because that's not like a $5 purchase, is it? Yeah. So just be open and honest communication all the time, and don't ever try to hide anything from your partner, because that won't go down very well, because they will find out.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a question that comes up a bit as people are dating, in terms of like when they start to, so say there's a couple and they're just starting to date, they earn different amounts of money. Like one might earn significantly more than the other, and they decide to move in together. The question comes up around, what do we do? Like, do we do we just split it down the middle? Do we pro-rata it to each other's finances? Like, what do you suggest people do in terms of how they manage money as a couple when they first start to share things?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. And for different couples, it's different. And you have to find what works for you. Some people I know do, like, he'll pay, according to whatever their salary is. The higher salary earner might contribute more. They might do 50-50. It really is whatever works for you and whatever you're happy with. But it's very hard. You need to be honest, because otherwise you're going to be just quite resentful if you're not honest, and you're going to be just those resentful feelings are going to be building up inside of you, and that's not going to end well. So just finding what works for you. Some of my friends do 50-50 and they're happy with that. They're completely happy with that. But others do like a 70-30 kind of a situation. And then they also have like a kind of a pot of money for when they go out and spend. And then it's not, you paid for this last time, now it's my turn, and it kind of get into those little squabbles, and that's where I think the heated arguments come from. Because you're not talking about it, and then it just gets blown out of all proportion one day. When you're going out to a coffee shop, and it's the last straw for either partner, and it just goes through the roof, and it ends very badly. So just open and honest all the time, and don't be afraid to say, obviously find the right moment. But I'm feeling a bit X, Y, and Z right now. Can we just talk about this at the weekend? And that might help. But just always be honest, because I think that's the best policy. Yeah,
I think you made such a good point then in terms of, don't agree to something that you're not going to be happy with, because then you're going to be resenting them later down the line just because you're trying to, I don't know, feel like that's what you should do, or that you're pleasing them, or that you want it to work, or. Yeah, I think that's really important.
But also, it might be at that time, it might be the right decision for you.
True.
But then after a few weeks or months, you might, on reflection, be going, oh, this isn't working out right now. So maybe at the beginning, you could say, let's try it this way, and let's review it again in 3 weeks or 3 months, and let's just see how we're going.
Do you have any ideas on when it's a good time for couples to start sharing finances, or should they not? Or I know this is personalised, but is there any patterns you've noticed with people?
Yeah, I would say when you're married, because otherwise it can just get so messy and so complicated, and you don't need that. So talk about it before. Obviously, have a plan, get yourself a budget, and try and make it workable. And then remember, when you talk about money and your budget, life doesn't always go in a straight line, does it? And there are ups and downs. So just be open to being flexible. And I would only say share your finances when you're married, because it could go, and I know of some horror stories where it's gone horribly wrong. So, and I don't want that for anybody. So only when you're married, start merging those bank accounts. Yeah,
totally. Okay. Thinking about before when you said like you have a fun line in your budget, what are some other tips people can or rather, I don't know, what are the mistakes people have made in making a budget so that people don't make them? Or what are your tips for having a successful budget?
Yeah, so it's going to take you about 3 months to get your budget working to where you want it to be. So just be patient, and it's not going to go well the first month, and that's okay, because you've made a start. So I hope you don't mind me sharing, Beck. I actually have it's called a Happy Couples budgeting tool. It's actually an Excel spreadsheet. But it's so super, super easy to use. And a lot of these spreadsheets and things that have bells and whistles, don't they? They have pie charts and bar charts. And this is not like that at all. It's like so super simple, because number one, my husband was completely overwhelmed when it came to talking about money. So you have the whole year on the same page, and it's really easy to see. So one of my top tips is have a miscellaneous, like a buffer at the end of the month, because sometimes you forget things. Sometimes you forget somebody's birthday and you're supposed to be going out for drinks. So we make ours around £50, £100 a month, and sometimes we don't need that, so we can move that over to the next month. A fun line. When I first talked about budgeting or was looking into budgeting, I didn't know that you could have a fun line. I thought budgeting meant there was no compromise, there was no spending at all, and this was like really strict. And I'm like, oh no, you can be really flexible with your budget. So when some people say the budget word, don't think you can't spend any money, because that's so not true. And we also have a kind of a line that says, oh, this was a money mistake. This is something I shouldn't have spent money on, and it was just a mistake. So just put it into there, because we all make mistakes, hey? And it's okay. It's what we do about them that counts. So yeah, so that's my top tips, is just be flexible, have a fun line, have a miscellaneous line, and have a money mistakes kind of category as well. And yeah, and all will be well, because when I find with our budget that you can see the big picture, and that really opens our eyes to where we are right now. And if you're in debt, it's great to see those numbers going down. And if you're saving, it's great to see those numbers going up. And I'm a bit of a nerd in that way. I kind of like to see the numbers. My husband, not so much so, but hey, that's okay. It works. But yeah, just give it a go and find a budget, a kind of a spreadsheet or an app or pencil and paper. It still works. Whatever works for you. As everyone says, personal finance is personal. So find something that works for you and stick with it.
Yeah, I love that. How can they make it fun? Like, how can they, I know the word budget for people that makes them go like, ugh, and feel a bit like suffocated, like even with the like, I've got a fun line, because there's still an amount allocated to the fun, you know, like, so sometimes I think people feel like then there's a cap on things. So I wonder if there's a way it can be made, the process can be made fun. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah. So if you're overwhelmed or completely reluctant and you don't really want to sit down and do a budget, that's okay. So what we do is, for me, I put all the numbers in before my husband joins me and sits down, and put all the numbers I can in, and then he comes to me like with some different numbers or different ideas. Sorry, still struggling with that cold. And so I make it as short as possible, because I know that if we're going to be there for more than 15 minutes, it's not going to go well. So just short and sharp, and then do something fun afterwards. Have something forward to look forward to. You're going to go to the coffee shop. You can go for a walk. You can go to the movies. And so it's not going to be this intense hour-long meeting where you're scrutinizing everything that you've spent. It's just an overview of where your money is going. And for a long time, we made a lot of mistakes because we were looking at the past month and not the month going forward. And it's all about telling your money to go where to go rather than wondering where it went. So always so now we're coming to the end of May. So we've done our June budget. This is what we foresee happening, and take it from there. But again, it's really good to show some grace, because not everything goes according to plan.
Two really cool distinctions there, like about looking forward as opposed to looking back. And also, because I thought about that as you were talking, how I can imagine that some couples would sit down and one would get really judgy about the other one, because if someone's spending more than, you know, and then that would lead to the person not wanting to do the budget again, because that's, if they're going to be just sat there and judged and scolded for what they did wrong. And for sure. And then that was exactly what my husband and I were like back in the day, back in the beginning of our relationship, because I was like, what do you mean you spent so-and-so? You haven't got that money. Where do you think that was coming from? And I really had to take a step back and think about how I was talking about money and how I could show grace, because I tell you, back from personal experience, we had slamming doors, we had arguments, and then I had to take a step back and think, right, how can I get him on the same page? How can I talk to him about money where he's not going to get cross? And it was completely me, the way I was approaching it, how and when I was talking about it. And I have learned a lot. Amazing. What else have you learned? Like from your mistakes, is there anything else that was? Yeah.
So I am a morning bird. I get up early in the morning, and my husband is a night owl. So when I get up in the morning, I've had my tea, I've had my breakfast. You know, it's about 9 o'clock. I think, right, he should be getting up about now. You know, it's obviously not on a work day. You know, we go out to work before that, but at the weekend, and then so I would go in and take him a cup of tea and go, right, I've been looking at the bank statement and X, Y, and Z. And he was like, what? I'm still asleep. So now I've learned.
At least bring me a coffee first.
It still wouldn't have worked, because I'd be like, right, X, Y, and Z, ABC. And then in my judgmental, I was so judgmental, because I was like, what's this? What do you mean you've spent so-and-so? What do you mean you've taken someone out for drinks? But I really had to learn that. So when we're going to talk about money, I'll say to him, I find him when he's in a good mood. When he's singing, I know he's in a good mood, and he knows this now. When he's singing, I go, right, do you want to, I really want to talk about X, Y, and Z at the weekend. I'd really like to do this when we're back in the UK. Do you think we can afford it? Can we just have a look at the numbers at the weekend? And, I won't put a time or a time on it because that's just too regimental for him. He needs to be more flexible. So then, when it's the weekend, I'll say, oh, just let me know when you're ready to talk about X, Y, and Z. And he'll go, okay, let's do it now, kind of a get it out of the way kind of thing. But it's much better than asking him at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And you just have to find those times that work for you and it needs to work for you. Otherwise, and you just have to find that together.
What about, I'm just thinking about if you did that and you said, can you let me know of a time that would work? And then they just never got back to you. Like never wanted to talk about it. They just avoided it.
That does happen with my husband because I used to say, let me know a time that works for you. And then I'd keep saying, just let me know. And then I'd make a cup of tea or make a cup of coffee and then I get the laptop out and I just like, right, you just want to do that thing now. and then he would eventually come round. But I'm sure there'll be better ways that you could think of that it might work rather than me going, right, 5 minutes? Would 5 minutes work for you? And the other tip is, don't get the laptop out when you're going out in 5-10 minutes or you've got somebody coming round because you just don't need that stress.
Yeah, that's cool. So allow the time, but it doesn't have to take forever, but you can still allow that time there in case it does go over. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't be rushed because that's not going to make it for a relaxed conversation either. Yeah. And also, I would say, look, we're doing it with, and I say to my husband now, look, I don't mean to be patronising when I say this, but great job on this, Great, and because I am a primary school teacher trained, I know that sometimes I can talk to him like he's a 5-year-old, and I really don't mean to do that.
I think we're all guilty of that. My husband always says, "Don't coach me." I'm like, okay, I don't even know what's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But and I have to say to him, look, and I don't mean this in a patronising way, but great job, aren't we doing well here? Because if you like recently, we've paid for the car had to have a service, the car insurance was due, the generator needed a service, and we paid all of that through our savings. Whereas literally a few years ago, that would have just gone on the credit card, So well done for us, because also on our budget back, we have something called sinking funds. I don't know if you've heard of those, but it just means that you're saving for things that you know that are coming up, like Christmas, like the car service, like the insurances. For us, we have a dentist sinking funds because my husband says some people invest in stocks and shares, but we invest in Karen's teeth. So every time we go to the dentist, we know it's going to be a big bill. It's always going to be a big bill when I go to the dentist. So we have that sinking fund. So I just put some money aside. We just put some money aside every month. For Christmas, we know how much we're going to spend. We know roughly how much the car service is going to spend. Divide that by 12. Every month, put that money away, and then go from there. But it's really been a game changer for our finances because we're not now putting things on the credit card. We knew they were coming. We knew everyone knows Christmas. It's on the same day every year, right? December 25th. So why are we still paying for it in February, March? So we just have a Christmas fund, and that's the money we've got to spend for Christmas. And then with the cost of living and the taxes here have increased, and so we're kind of, compared to last year, we're not getting paid as much, but so we've had to be really flexible with that. Maybe the Christmas fund isn't as healthy as it was this time last year. You can just move money around from account to account, but we just congratulate yourself on those small wins. Well done. We haven't put anything on the credit card this month. We've managed to pay things for cash. That's really important because, as you're working towards your money goals, sometimes if you're going to get out of debt, maybe it's like a few $1,000s to get out of debt. And that's quite a long journey. So I believe that you have to celebrate those small wins as you go, just to boost your morale, because it can be a long, slow journey. And as we said earlier, that the line is not always a straight line and there are often bumps in the road. And it's okay. It's not the end of the world. No one's died. You're all okay. Just keep your head down and just keep going.
Yeah. That's so cool. Like, any tips around, because I know cost of living is such a hot topic everywhere, like all around the world. Any tips for helping people cope with that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And you've just got to be intentional with your money. And then that's why budgeting is so good, because like we've got, if you want to go out for a meal, can we afford it? Have we got that wriggle room in the budget? We've stopped eating out now because food bills just gone through the roof. The cost of living crisis is huge all the way around the world, and it's not just energy bills. And the cost of food has just gone through the roof. So we've made some cutbacks, as in our Christmas fund. We're not saving as much into that at the moment, sadly. The food bill's gone through the roof. We're eating at home all the time, making food from scratch, growing vegetables, things like that.
Yeah,
but which is great, and it's a nice family hobby. And just thinking, where can I cut back? And when friends say, do you want to go out for like pizza on a Friday night? We'd love to hang out with you guys, celebrate the weekend. Why don't you all come around here? We can make some things. We can make homemade pizza. It's not as nice as going out to a restaurant, but you can make it fun. You know, you can. So for Christmas Day, lots of people wanted to go out for Christmas Day for their lunch. But we decided we'd have people here instead. So this year we had 23 people for Christmas lunch.
Yeah, wow.
Everybody bought something. Yeah. Everybody bought their own drinks. You know, we sat down and we organised it. Who's going to bring what, X, Y, and Z. And everybody helped with the washing up. And it was a fun day. Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, it was really good. And on fun.
Yeah, I love that idea. I also just had a friend message like a group of us and said like, you know, one of our friends' birthdays is coming up. Like if we put in for everyone's birthday, that's going to get a lot. So what I was thinking was to make her this gift, and she's going to make a terrarium where you put, and you can say, I've got a million plants around me. So does anyone have any cuttings that I could use for this? And I was like, me, I've got cuttings. And she's like, I've got the jar. And I'm like, I love that, because I know the person, she also loves plants. So she will love that gift as well. And there's so much more thought. So not everything has to cost money. Yeah. You know, and I totally get
personal as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the best things that happened to us is that we moved regionally. So we used to live in Sydney, and every time I go back there, I'm amazed at how much money I spend on food. I'm like, it is insane. So I can see why people who live there are just like so easy to get into, because everything is so convenient and delicious and, you know, easy, and it's so easy to spend money. But we've got a 4-year-old. I took him out for sushi and we spent $70. And I was like, I mean, he decided that he liked the sushi that I liked, which was like $7 a plate. I was like, good choice, mate. How did I get the expensive kid? But even then I was like, this was a lunch, a takeaway lunch. Like it's wild.
Yeah. We went out a few months ago to a pizza place, and it's quite a posh pizza place, and we hadn't been out in months, and my friend gave me this like money off voucher. So the bill came. I'm like, great, that's £30 with the money off voucher. And they're like, no, that includes the money off voucher. And I'm like, sorry, how much? Can I see the receipt, please? And my husband's going, I can't believe you've just asked. And I'm like, no, sorry, we don't get out a lot. And so I literally scrutinised this receipt, and it was like, it's going to be like £70 for a pizza, and you know, and my husband had a drink, and I think I had a water, and maybe we had starters as well. So that, you know, it just no wonder we don't go out very often. Every once in a while, it's a nice treat, but it's certainly not a weekly event for us. And we do know people that go out for meals like 3 times a week, and I just don't know how they do it.
I agree. My best mate, they go out all the time for dinner. I'm like, this must, you know, cost a lot.
Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, amazing. Any other tips, tricks, info you want to share with anyone? And we'll absolutely, the link to that spreadsheet I would love, because we can put that in the show notes. Yeah,
absolutely. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah, we just found it super helpful. And then I was going to sell it, and then I'm like, no, I'm going to just like give it away, because I just want people just to get a handle on their finances. So so just, you know, find some time where you can get those bank statements and figure out how much you're spending every month. And, you know, that's just going through your bank statements and scrutinizing them every month, and your credit card bills as well, because as we said a couple of days ago back, that my husband had, when we first got on the same financial page, we kind of like pooled all our, you know, I got to find out how much debt he was in and what his credit cards were and all of that. He is the spender and I am the saver, and that's okay because we work well as a team. But it took me about 30 seconds to realize that on one of his credit cards there was a problem. And because he didn't look at it, he never looked at it because he was just so overwhelmed when it came to thinking about money. he never looked at his credit card statement. So one of my top tips would be you must check, because there are mistakes. And there was for 2 years, he'd been paying for another 2 Amazon, I can't even say the word, Amazon subscriptions to Prime. And people had been buying things on Amazon with his credit card.
Yeah, this happened to us too. Yeah.
So scary, hey?
Yeah. And if you avoid avoid looking at it because it's overwhelming, you won't notice that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was subtle. It was like $4.99.
Yes, that's what ours was. Yep.
$12.99. And then it was the £71. And I'm like, what's this? What have you bought for £71 from Amazon? And he was like, nothing. And I'm like, and then thankfully the credit card were brilliant and they refunded all of it. But it was just subtle. So please just check those credit card statements and your bank statements, because mistakes happen. People hack into your, your cards, and it's sad, but you just need to be aware of what's going on.
Totally. I just had a thought that for everyone who's single out there, it would be really helpful for you to look at all your finances before you get into dating with someone, because then you're aware of where you're at. So then you might want to enter that conversation with someone, because you'll have a baseline of what's important for you and where you're at and where you want to head, rather than avoiding that topic.
Have those money goals and have those dreams. Recently, back in 2022, we went to Disney World, Florida. It was amazing. But we saved for 4 years. So if you've got a dream that you're saving for, share that. Get them excited as well, because it's good to dream and to dream big. It might take time, like it took us 4 years, but we got there and we had an absolute blast.
Yeah,
and getting out of debt can be a long and hard and quite boring sometimes journey. But if you share that, my money goal is I'm really intentional. I really want to get out of debt. I really want to save for this, and let them share in that dream with you, because it's great to have someone who is your cheerleader, cheering you on, and someone that you can be accountable to.
Yeah, such a good point. Amazing. How can people find you, work with you, be in your space?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Money and Marriage 2. That's the number 2. I've also got a website called moneyandmarriage.net. You can go on there, and you can also email me, hello@moneyandmarriage.net. I am here. I am around. I will always respond to emails, because I just love to hear from people, and I love to hear from people that, want to be intentional with their money and they want to do better. Because as we said, this cost of living crisis is hard for many, many people. And once we're intentional and we know what we're doing, we can make a plan. So, I'd love to hear from people.
Yay. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you.